From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, this is Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Riley Smith. In today's show, Mark wraps up his conversation with Dr. Brad Lawrence of NOVUS. I have a grain marketing update from Michael Weidner of Landus Cooperative, and we introduce you to our 2026 intern, Terry G'day. Now let's welcome in our hosts, Dustin Huffman and Mark Magnuson.
Well, Dustin, as we look at the calendar here, we are getting into an interesting time of the year in terms of the ag marketplace, because now we are coming out of this 3-day weekend, of course, first full week of trade in a little bit here as we start things off here on Monday. But as we look towards the end of the month, the big reports from USDA will have the acreage report and the quarterly grain stocks report. It's going to be interesting and insightful to follow along with the ag marketplace here in the coming days to see how things are getting positioned ahead of those big reports.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to that. And also, I am actually interested to see what we get out of the crop progress report coming out later today as well, the weekly report, because we did have some storm damage since the last report was run, especially in the south central and southeastern parts of our state. How much is that going to be affected? Southern Illinois also got affected. I want to see if there's any changes to any of the numbers there. Of course, it's just a small isolated area, but usually, when you talk about Iowa and Illinois, there's still going to be attention grabbers. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Those again, quarterly grain stocks, those certified acres numbers are going to be coming in, and it's going to be interesting because there's going to be a lot of decisions being made. And of course, then we'll have the planting report in August that will kind of adjust for anything that had to be changed, such as any storm damage that ended up getting replanted corn to beans, or there was losses. And so there's all sorts of things that are fluid in this marketplace to keep it, a little bit antsy. Of course, international deals also affecting that as well, because you have to look at, we thought by now we would have a signed, sealed, and delivered peace deal with Iran, and that fell apart over the weekend. And Iran even walked away from the negotiating table. So a lot of uncertainty yet, but they're saying there's going to be still some negotiations going on, but the marketplace is looking for something solid to grab a hold of.
And this also brings up the point, too, with those acreage reports at the end of the month, the sticking point that we run into every year about how we think those are the final numbers, but that doesn't always turn out to be the case.
No, that it doesn't. And those can be adjusted even at the end of the year and even up to a year beyond. So it all depends on how things shake out. And again, but it gives us a pretty close picture on how things are going here at each point in the year. Let's go ahead and get the grain market started. Greg McBride of Allendale talking now with Mark Magnuson.
Joined today by Greg McBride of Allendale for the opening market discussion. Greg, what's happening with the trade in the grains after 3 days of no trade?
Yeah, we're trading mixed right now. So you have some upward movement in the beans, mostly led by the bean oil, and that was kind of a throwback to the strength that we saw on Friday and overnight in the crude. Even though that's gone away at this point, bean oil is still up 78 ticks here. It's almost a penny higher. You're just off the highs after a sell-off for about the last 2 weeks. So are we finding maybe some support levels here in this bean oil market that's going to support the beans themselves? Maybe that's potential. We also did see a couple of sales of beans last week, flash sales of beans. You had about 260,000 tons of new crop to unknown. You also had 123 or 132,000 tons to China that was reported. This is one of those things where this is the time of the year where we will start to see some of these new crop sales for the beans start to come in, as long as China is still on the right side of this trade deal. And this is one of those things that we'll continue to watch. We need to see this about 2 to 3 times a week in order to get the market to get excited about this demand and feel like the Chinese are living up to that standard that was set from that framework deal made back in October of last year, and then kind of strengthened by the meeting in May with President Trump and President Xi. So beans really not finding a whole heck of a lot so far this morning. They are about a penny, but they're off their highs by 6. Corn and wheat taking a step back, anywhere from 3 to 4 cents lower on the corn. Wheat anywhere from 2 to 9 cents lower. We are going into, or we're moving further and further into harvest for that winter wheat crop. So we'll probably start to get some yield estimates and information about just how good or, like I said, bad when it comes to that winter wheat crop out of the Great Plains.
So, Greg, with the big reports coming up at the end of the month, what do you think that means for the trade in the meantime? Will things be a little bit quiet because traders don't want to stake their positions too far one way or the other? Or do you think we could still see some regular price movement like we always would, and there could be swings?
Well, I think we're going to still be kind of led around by the weather in the meantime. I mean, the acreage story is still up in the air. I can make a good case for higher corn and bean acres. I can make a good case for higher bean acres but lower corn acres. It's a kind of a toss up there. The stocks number for the corn side of things is always a wild card because we just don't have any idea what the USDA is looking at when it comes to feed and residual numbers. So you can get a variance of maybe 100 to even 300 million bushels on that stocks number for corn, which can swing that market. Typically at this time of the year, we do get about a 2-week bounce as we go into from mid-June to about early July, as we start to develop those forecasts for for pollination weather. We start to look out towards the 2 and 3 week forecast at that point to see what it's going to look like. If you start to see rain, you see cooler temperatures in July, that's going to be conducive for a very big crop. That's going to be good for pollination weather. If it goes really hot and dry, obviously that's the opposite situation. That's where we could throw some weather premium into this market, which as of this time, we don't have a whole heck of a lot of weather premium. And we've seen the funds take a long position and go at least mildly short in the corn. And they've neutralized a little bit of that long position in beans as well.
ACM and CMA award winner, Hardy.
That's my favorite country song.
Live in concert.
I woke up on the wrong side of the truck bed this morning.
August 13th, 8 p.m., Iowa State Fair Grandstand.
You got it good, old boy.
With special guest McCoy Moore. Hardy Live. Reserve tickets on sale now through iowastatefair.org. Hardy 2026.
We're back on Iowa Ag Matters, and we are going to get a look at some grain marketing updates now with the folks at Landus. We've been looking at how the market's reacting to different things earlier in the show. Now we'll kind of get you some ideas on what you can do to kind of cope with it. Riley Smith has more.
Riley Smith, Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, on the phone right now with Michael Weidner. He's the Director of Grain Origination and Producer Strategy at Landus Cooperative. And taking a look now at our midweek grain marketing update. First off, Michael, what are the latest headlines impacting those grain markets today?
Yeah, thanks for having me today, Riley. Really appreciate it. Big headlines for the week here. Wednesday, we got a short week of trade. Friday, the Juneteenth holiday. But positively speaking, we did confirm here this morning via flash sale of old and new crop soybeans to unknown, which we presume to be China, as there were some rumors yesterday floating around that they were in the market looking for some October through March offers, Sino grain specifically. So did see some confirmation of purchases this morning, and even a little chatter and rumor that they may be looking at some corn here. So exciting times here as we try to kind of bottom out after some ugly price action here to start the month of June.
So when we think about those purchases potentially, from China, but, like you mentioned, unknown generally goes to China. Do we think this is a sign pointing to them fulfilling their end of the kind of handshake trade deal that we had seen earlier?
It sure looks like it. It's definitely a great start. Would love to see it sooner before this type of sell-off, right? We had that handshake agreement middle of May, and nothing really materialized. So the market got pretty kind of, call it stale of what was going on with the headlines back and forth. And so this is a great sign, a great start. We'll see if we can continue to build on this, as we are starting to get it a little bit competitive versus Brazil, which is a great sign and why they're coming to the table, right? So this is what we've been looking for, and now it's all about them following through with some purchases between now and harvest, and maybe that cranks up later this year. But this is a heck of a good start and some good positivity after a rough couple weeks.
And you mentioned, starting off June, pretty rough in the price action for the grain markets. Over the past week, how have we seen that improve exactly?
Yeah, great question there. You look at the July corn futures in the nearby. We sold off all the way down to around 405, 406 here on the charts. And found some support here early week. Reversed off of that contract low to have put honestly a few good sessions in. Technically speaking, we're up to about 421 and 3/4 at today's high on the July futures. So you're talking about a 15-16 cent bounce here on the week. Now that doesn't fully get us back to where we were, obviously, but we'll take any win we can get here to finish up some old crop. And then looking at the beans, when that China news came out yesterday, we saw the 8:30 reopen where July soybeans took off 23 cents in 1 minute. If you pull up a 1 minute chart, it was a pretty wicked move. And for the week, we're up nearly 40 cents. So seeing some really good opportunities to clean up some old crop here. And then even new crop, we're pressing the 450 level on the corn side of things after making a new life of contract low early week. And then November beans back above 1150 going home here today.
Hi, my name is Ethan Smith, and I've been a certified crop advisor in Iowa for about 6 years. The Iowa CCA program is valuable to me because it helps keep me informed on new topics and research around the industry, including soils, insects, diseases, and much more. It's also a great way to network with others around the state and beyond. Iowa is known for its crops, and that's why we're here. To learn more about becoming a certified crop advisor, visit iowacca.org.
Your local radio station brings you the local news you depend on. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network complements that with ag news, weather, and market updates tailored for Iowa's farmers. Together, we deliver the best of both worlds, local connection and industry expertise. It's all to keep you connected with the heartbeat of the heartland. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, connecting rural Iowa with the news that matters to you.
Time to run down those basis numbers for you here on Iowa Ag Matters on this Tuesday. I'm Dustin Huffman. Just about half of our elevators making changes here on their pricing. Let's run down where they're at. ADM Burlington, 28 cents under on corn, $3.87. Soybeans, 33 cents under at $10.76. Cargill and Eddyville, a dime under on corn. They're at $4.05 for the cash bid. New Co-op Algona, 30 cents under on corn, $3.85. Soybeans, 33 cents under, cash bid $10.76. Ag State Sheldon, 16 cents under on corn, $3.99. Soybeans, 40 cents under at $10.69. Ag State Delta, 31 cents under on corn, $3.84. Soybeans, 35 cents under at $10.74. At Cargill Cedar Rapids, they're 2 cents under on corn, $4.13. Soybeans, a dime under with a cash bid of $10.99. Five-Star Co-op Nashua, 26 cents under on corn, $3.89. Soybeans, 35 cents under at $10.74. Lincoln Way Energy Nevada, 15 cents under on corn, cash bid $4 even. ADM Des Moines, even on corn, the cash price there, $11.09. New Co-op in Red Oak, they're 18 cents under on corn, $3.97. Soybeans, 33 cents under at $10.76. Mid-Iowa Cooperative Green Mountain, 40 cents under on corn, $3.75. Soybeans, 60 cents under at $10.49 for the cash bid. New Co-op Sheraton, 22 cents under on corn, $3.93. Soybeans, 33 cents under, cash price $10.76. Walk-On Feed Ranch, 43 cents under on corn, $3.72. Soybeans, 57 cents under, $10.52. New Co-op Glidden, 26 cents under on corn, the cash bid $3.89. Soybeans, 33 cents under at $10.76. Innovative Ag Services Farley, 39 cents under on corn, $3.76. Soybeans, 55 cents under, cash bid $10.54. And at Cargill Muscatine, they're 15 cents under on corn, $4 even. Soybeans, 25 cents under at $10.84. Cash, corn, and soybean bids are subject to change without notice. Always check with your local elevator when making sales to obtain the most recent price. And that's been a check of your basis numbers here on Iowa Ag Matters. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
Rod Stewart.
When I see you tonight,
A special evening with the icon.
on a downtown train,
A night of hit after hit after hit with special guest Richard Marks. Friday, August 14th, Iowa State Fair Grandstand. Reserve tickets on sale now through iowastatefair.org. Don't miss an electrifying event. Friday, August 14th. Rod Stewart live.
This is the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. You're listening to Iowa Ag Matters, and it is time now on the show to introduce our new intern for 2026, the summer season. He is Thierry Gaudet. He is a Iowa State Cyclone through and through. We know that about him. He has studied at Iowa State University, and now he is working his way towards the full-time world of working in agriculture. And Thierry is our intern here at the network this summer. And Thierry, first of all, welcome into Iowa Ag Matters. Thanks for joining us on the show. And could you give us a quick breakdown of your background, please? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, yeah, Mark, like you mentioned, cycling the whole entire time. And background, I went to Iowa State for agricultural studies and education and, just touching a different kind of water here with communication aspect of it. But yeah, that's kind of the big picture of what I've done in terms of background.
So Thierry, obviously you've also got quite a story about where you come from and what's driving you to pursue, this agriculture education, and obviously that you want to communicate to folks back home. Tell us a little bit about where you come from and what's driving you in here.
Yeah, of course, Dustin. Yeah, I'm originally from Cameroon. There's debate of whether it is in Central or West Africa. I'm for the Central African one, but, growing up there, everybody's farming about 60% to 70% of the active population. And regardless of that, everybody farming, we still struggle, having to go abroad to bring food back home. Same thing, the same staple crops that we grow. And just coming to the U.S. and seeing how, farming is being done here and the amount of people involved is not as high. It's even less than 10%. And there's so much, output coming out. And just based on that, I just wanted to, get myself used to what is being done here and take a look back home and, what can we come up with in terms of like a hybrid based on the reality back home and the good things being done by, those amazing farmers here in the U.S. and just bring it back home and make it a little easier and empower farmers back home.
And Thierry, I do know, in talking with you a little bit of your plans for the future, but you have some ultimate goals as well, as you mentioned about bringing some of the knowledge back home to help out farmers there and just kind of spread some agricultural knowledge as well to your home area and where you're from, and kind of helping to share some of those techniques and things that you've learned over your time in studying agriculture. But kind of what is your ultimate goal then with trying to bring some knowledge back home and trying to help educate people on agriculture just in general?
Yeah, Mark, yeah, that's an amazing question. But one thing I would say first is, I don't think I'll be the one that goes back home and change everything. I'm not. I don't think I'll even change 5% of it. But I think it just comes back to the idea that agriculture back home is not the end goal. It's just a path to something better. And for me, I just think, people seeing me, he went to the U.S., he went to school there, and he came back home and he's doing agriculture. I just want young people my age, my generation, and the youngest one coming up to be like, okay, somebody went abroad to the U.S., he went to fancy U.S. school, if you want to put it that way, and he still comes back to do agriculture. Then, maybe there's something we can do with that. And like you mentioned, ultimate goal is to bring the knowledge and everything back. I want to do it in the form of like a consulting business, because a lot of NGOs and a lot of, institutions with good intention wants to do something better for farmers back home, but they often don't take into consideration the reality back home. And my goal with my consulting business will be to provide, support to those NGOs by working with farmers on the ground, understanding, what reality are they going through? What do they actually need in comparison to what is being brought? So that's kind of the whole big picture of what I'm trying to do back home in Cameroon eventually.
And now here in Iowa, obviously you can't go around without seeing corn, soybeans, hogs, and cattle. But what kind of things do we see being raised in Cameroon?
It depends on the region. Cameroon is made of 10 regions. The southern part of Cameroon is, tropical rainforest. It's just raining all the time. And in that region, they grow a lot of cocoa, chocolate. You love chocolate, I bet, Dustin, and that's where they make it. There's a huge plantation of cocoa trees, and then there's palm oil. Palm oil is a big staple in the northern part of Cameroon, so they have a huge plantation. And then the northern you go is more like dry, it's close to the Sahara Desert. So it's known for being the cattleman of Cameroon, like the northern part, like, Ngaoundéré, Garoua, and Mara is known for cattlemen. And I would tell you one thing, the culture is different when it comes to like cattle. You will see somebody have so many cattle and, so many heads, like they wouldn't want to eat it. For them, it's more like a, sentimental aspect of it. It's a way of showing power. So back home, you wouldn't be like, oh, how much money do you make? It will be like, how many cattle do you have? So, and then in terms of crops, you have the staple, the one and only cassava, which Mark didn't know much about, and it was interesting for me to introduce him to it. But yeah, it is a big staple back home, and you have the average, maize, soybean, not so much, but you have sorghum and other things.
And then Thierry, I've been very interested in learning about you as you've been here at the network and everything that you have learned about agriculture and excited about. But at the same time, I know you don't have really a broadcasting background especially in this world, but you have just hit the ground running. I've been so impressed by that. And I know we're about to wrap up the segment, but what are you looking forward to for the rest of the summer?
Yeah, Mark, for the rest of the summer, I just, I want to add more to my pocket knife, I'll put it that way, and which is the second step is the communication. So I just want to be sitting here, do what I'm told to do, but also take in as much as possible, because I strongly believe I can learn so much, not just from you, but, from Riley and Dustin. And Riley, he's been so much to me here. Everything, is kind of helping me what to figure out, what to do and next. So yeah, that's pretty much my goal here, to just sit and just suck up as much as possible.
Rod Stewart. When I see you tonight. A special evening with the icon. On a downtown train. A night of hit. After hit. After hit. With special guest Richard Marks. Friday, August 14th. Iowa State Fair Grandstand. Reserve tickets on sale now through iowastatefair.org. Don't miss an electrifying event. Friday, August 14th. Rod Stewart. Live.
This is the Midday Market Update on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Mark Magnuson, joined at midday by Justin McKinney of Comstock. Justin, what's happening with the trade in the grains?
A little bit lower here this morning, Mark, on the corn, down about 5.5 on the July corn. December corn off 3.5. Soybeans down 2 in the July. November beans struggling along, but up 0.75 of a penny as we get the week started. A couple things on the docket here right off the bat. We have the crop conditions this afternoon. Everybody's kind of pegging corn to be down unchanged to down 2%, and unchanged to down maybe 2% on the beans. That's 6+ inches of rain through a large swath of the corn belt. It's starting to get a lot of headlines. It's starting to get a lot of press. Yellow corn, maybe a little bit too much water in spots, but it's also hard to rally a market on too much rain.
What's happening in the livestock trade today?
Yeah, wild day as we started. We got feeders up about $3.27 right now. That is about $1.50 or so off the high of the day that we started right off the bat. Fat cattle here trading up $1.15. Again, you're looking at about $1.50 off the highs, give or take. As we had the cash news develop very slowly last week and very late after the 2 o'clock reporting, the bulk of the cattle probably did end up trading somewhere in that 260 range in the north. It will not reflect on the weekly report that it missed the 2 o'clock cutout. So we had that news out of the cattle on feed report, which I'm sure you guys talked about this morning. But the cash market really was a driver this morning. Got everybody fired up here on the feeder and the live cattle. Over on the hog side of the world, boy, it's just tough going in the hogs. Down 15 cents in the July. August is up about 7.5 cents. We continue to get very, good box movement on the pork cutout. We seem to try to get a little run in the values there, but the hog market, we just can't get anything mustered in the cash. That chart just has been oversold and looking terrible for a while. And we would expect to bounce some seasonally. We would expect to bounce as we're running a pretty big discount to what we normally would have this time of year. But traders are just reluctant to put that premium in.
How can our listeners get in touch for more marketing information?
You bet. They can call me direct here at 320-589-4345 or on our main line at 712-227-1110.
Looks like another perfect day to get out there and enjoy the summer.
You hear that? Live music, laughing kids, the roar of the rides, and someone yelling, "Corn dogs!" That's Fair Spirit at the Iowa State Fair, August 13th through 23rd in Des Moines. 11 days of blue ribbon traditions, big summer nights, incredible food, and the kind of memories you talk about all year long. This is your Iowa State Fair. Plan your visit now at iowastatefair.org.
August 13th through the 23rd.
July corn down 5 3/4 at $4.11 3/4. July soybeans down 3 cents at $11.19 3/4. July soybean meal down $1.10 at 320 cents. July soybeans up 121 at 70.90. Chicago wheat down 7.5 at 5.98 1/4. Minneapolis wheat is down 8 cents at 6.15. Kansas City hard red wheat down 8 3/4 at 6.35 1/4. On the Merc, August live cattle up 70 cents at 247.33. August feeder cattle up 3.23 at 369.83. July lean hogs down 18 cents at 94.85. That was a check of the midday markets on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Mark Magnuson.
Back into the marketplace we go here on Iowa Ag Matters and find out what's happening with those livestock markets. Greg McBride of Allendale once again joining the conversation with Mark Magnuson.
What's happening on the livestock side of the trade?
Well, we are trading significantly higher in the cattle here this morning. You had cattle on feed report on Friday that showed smaller than expected placements. So we've got a moderately bullish movement in that. The cash cattle came out anywhere from $2 to even to $2 to $3 higher in some cases. There was quite a bit of trade on Friday at the 259, 258, 260 area. That $3, $2 window looked good. That was a better cash trade than what we had seen previously. So we're going to continue to watch some of these things and give us an opportunity to maybe even retest some of these highs. We're up very close to the August contract high, within a couple of bucks of that. So we'll watch for that. If you can see a better cash rate here, that would continue to push us right along. On the pork side of things, on the hog side of things, we continue to watch to see if we can find our footing here. As you look at the July contract, it has been in a very orderly downtrend since about say late February, early March, and it's found its low on Thursday. It's trading inside of Thursday's range here this morning, but down still about 50 cents. We'll continue to watch that. There's a lot of talk about the potential for Chinese purchases, whether or not that's going to happen. They don't necessarily always buy a lot of pork from us anymore, but it is something that we'll continue to watch. Now that we've passed the peak of summer grilling procurement, we probably are going to struggle to find U.S. or domestic pork usage or buying to help support this market for right now.
What's the best way for our listeners to get in touch for more marketing information?
Give us a call at 800-2-MARKET. That's 800-262-7538.
Greg McBride of Allendale, my guest here today. Thanks so much for the time. Always appreciate it, and have a great start to the week.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, my name is Ethan Smith, and I've been a certified crop advisor in Iowa for about 6 years. The Iowa CCA program is valuable to me because it helps keep me informed on new topics and research around the industry, including soils, insects, diseases, and much more. It's also a great way to network with others around the state and beyond. Iowa is known for its crops, and that's why we're here. To learn more about becoming a certified crop advisor, visit iowacca.org.
In rural Iowa, we know you're sold on your local radio station. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network partners with local Iowa stations to deliver the latest in agriculture news, including grain elevator prices, market reports, and ag policy news. Trusted local voices, trusted ag content. This message is brought to you by your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters.
Back on Iowa Ag Matters, and we're going to hear the wrap-up of a conversation Mark had with Brad Lawrence of Novus, talking about what it takes to get gilts off to a solid start with their first litter of piglets, and we're going to hear that wrap-up right now. Mark?
Mark Magnuson for the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and I'm joined today by Brad Lawrence of Novus. We are at the World Pork Expo 2026 here in Des Moines at the Iowa State Fairgrounds, and so getting off to a fast start obviously makes a lot of sense, and getting off to that good start for an animal in terms of that first litter. So what are those challenges that need to be met or battled back against when you're talking about getting that first litter right?
Okay, so that getting that first litter right starts all the way back when that gilt is born at her mom. So common practice today is not selecting low birth weight gilts to then go into the herd because it's been identified that they have a shorter sow productive lifetime. Second component that comes into play is getting that gilt developed right, so that we're building her structure so that she can stand up through the rigors of her lifetime. And then also what we have found is that gilt development period also sets her up for her lifetime productivity of what is the potential number of piglets she may have over her lifetime.
So it's actually a different way to think about it, really, that it's not actually that first litter that we're so much focused on. It's actually the gilt itself getting off to its great start.
Correct. We have a collaborator that we've worked with in another world area that looked at the importance of nutrition, of which trace mineral nutrition was a component through the gilt development period. And one of the key interesting findings of that was having that better nutrition program actually resulted in the potential, keyword being potential, for her to have twice as many pigs. Now, she's not going to have all of those pigs, but just from an ovarian development, it resulted in that potential that if we could indeed get all those as actual live pigs, we could actually double her lifetime productivity.
So we kind of have an outlook and some knowledge now behind the process. Is this actionable then for all producers? Is this something they can put into action and make work for them?
Yes. The key with gilt development is somewhat historically, there's been a fair number of gilts that have been developed on the same types of diets as a terminal animal, because we really didn't have the depth of knowledge to understand the importance of nutrition of that developing gilt on that subsequent productivity. And so the first thing we have to realize is that as early as possible in that replacement gilt's life, we have to change her nutrition to better help her increase her survivability long-term in the herd and also her lifetime productivity.
So, Brad, is there anything else you'd like to let our Iowa listeners, our Iowa viewers know about when it comes to optimizing that first litter and just getting off to that right start?
Yeah, so another area that we have been looking at is when you look at those, like I said, those first litter offspring, their survival has not been as good as piglets from older parities. And that's been there's some developmental reasons that have been attributed to that, and et cetera. We actually, another area we work in is the gut microbiome. So you and I are people, but really what we are is we're a bunch of bugs that are helping us live on a day-to-day basis. And what we found is that under normal conditions, if you will, normal feeding, those young females have their offspring and they have a very different microflora. They have a very different bug profile than older parity sows. But we used an organic acid product and it changed the gut microbiome of those young females' offspring to be more similar to that of older parities' offspring. And the result was an improvement in feed conversion for having put the organic acid in the sow diet versus not having it.
So is that kind of then the best of both worlds? You have an animal that's on the rise in terms of development, but it also has all of those components that are so valuable to an older animal.
Correct. It's it's all about how can we optimize, first of all, the productivity of that gilt to then have her offspring, and then how do we set up her offspring for lifetime survival and production success and ultimately profitability for our producers.
He is Dr. Brad Lawrence with Novus, my guest here today, as we're talking about optimizing that first litter for a gilt. And Brad, thanks so much for the time here today at World Pork Expo. Appreciate the conversation. Very interesting topic, and have a great rest of the show.
Thank you.
ACM and CMA award winner, Hardy.
That's my favorite country song.
Live in concert.
I woke up on the wrong side of the truck bed this morning.
August 13th, 8 p.m., Iowa State Fair Grandstand.
You got it good, old boy.
With special guest McCoy Moore. Hardy Live. Reserve tickets on sale now through iowastatefair.org. Hardy 2026.
Well, that's putting the wraps on today's Iowa Ag Matters program. Thanks to Riley, thanks to Mark, thanks to Thierry, our intern for this summer, and of course, thanks to you for listening. We'll see you back here again tomorrow. You're listening to the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network.